All right, let's get this party started. Appreciate everybody for being here. Thanks to everybody for the prayers and the well wishes. My little man's doing much better today. I mean, he could be teething. I don't know. He's got some issues going on, like babies have. As a first time parent, we're learning all this stuff, and he's going through that 4 month sleep regression. So appreciate everybody for the prayers. Also, big shout out to both Let's Be Frank and Paint the Trump for sharing today's stream. For whatever reason, it wasn't showing up in even my community tab when I shared it. But usually when you go through your YouTube news feed, that's the one thing that does promote. It does show live stream coming up. So for whatever reason, it wasn't happening today. So thanks for the boost so that more people can see the stream today. Hopefully we get the usual numbers that we normally do. Please, everybody, give it a thumbs up on your way in. God bless you all for tuning in today. Shout out to the moderators. Thank y'all for everything you do. Now, guys, imagine, if you will, a public health emergency, a pandemic that is so serious that the government is only providing one solution for that said pandemic to end. They're only promoting one solution. They're not promoting health or preventative measures or anything like that. A pandemic so serious that you can fire medical workers, frontline doctors, nurses. You can just force them out of their jobs and create a shortage of medical doctors and people who would save lives otherwise. Imagine science so solid that you can't question it. If you provide any counter scientific studies or medical studies, anything that counters the established science, you'll get thrown off social media. Debate has been completely shut down. Imagine a vaccine that is so safe and effective that you need booster shots. A vaccine that's so trustworthy, you have to be forced to take it. All for a virus so deadly that you have to take a test to see if you even have it. Kind of interesting. Just wanted to share that little tidbit here. Now, let's get into some of these ridiculous headlines, all right? Let's start with this one here. U.S. is set to reopen land borders with Canada and Mexico for vaccinated visitors in early November. So if you're coming into the country legally and you're just traveling here, you got to show medical papers. You got to show that you've taken a medical procedure and that you are compliant with these orders, right? But if you cross the border illegally, break our laws, you don't have to do any of that. None of that. You are free to enter and do whatever you will. Matter of fact, let's resettle you. Let's go the extra mile and make you nice and comfortable and cozy. And of course, let's get you registered to vote. So again, going back to this pandemic, imagine a pandemic so serious that you pick and choose who has to take a medical procedure and follow the medical guidelines that are in place. It's just really interesting that we're going to reopen our borders with Canada and Mexico, but only for those that have taken the medical procedure because, why not discriminate? The virus clearly knows who to attack and who not to attack, who to infect, who not to infect. That's why, college football stadiums being packed to the brim with tens of thousands of strangers with no masks, shouting and consuming alcohol, spreading germs everywhere. Because when you're drunk, you don't really, you're all over the place with your germs. That's okay because the virus can't get you there. But gathering for Thanksgiving, Christmas, that might be a little dicey. So this is just a really stupid headline in clown world where nothing is impossible. And now, on to our favorite circle back Jin Saki with this economy. Guys, the economy, we knew this was coming. It's in shambles. We knew that this was going to happen. They fear-mongered about Trump when Trump got elected. Oh my gosh, the economy is going to crash and burn. He doesn't know what to do. The stock market will plummet. Watch everything go to hell in a handbasket, including a war with North Korea. Of course, none of those things came to fruition. It was just fear-mongering, what they always do. They have to fear-monger because when you surrender to fear, you're more likely to make irrational decisions like empower strangers who call themselves politicians to make decisions for you and your neighbors. But anyway, not to get on a tangent here, Psaki on inflation. The American people are not looking at cost to cost comparisons from this year to 2 years ago. She actually said that with a straight face. She just straight up said, Americans are basically too stupid to notice inflation even happening. It's not happening. No one's looking at the difference in the cost of a gallon of milk, a gallon of gas, a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs. Nobody's paying attention to that. They don't look to see if things are more expensive or cheap than they were 2 years ago. Yeah, because you're not doing that, right? Clown world. So she's saying all kind of ridiculous stuff. See, the thing is, they're giving us different stories on the inflation. Inflation's not happening. It's good for us. People aren't even noticing it. Which one is it? Which story is it, Jen Psaki? And then Nancy Pelosi. I think you could all do a better job of selling Biden's $3.5 trillion spending bill. So she's basically blaming the media for not selling the Build Back Better agenda, which we know is doublespeak. They're not building back anything. This was a controlled demolition of the U.S. economy. We watched it happen in front of our very eyes. It's still ongoing because it was starting to slowly surge back, especially in states like Florida, where we never closed down completely anyway. We never shut anything down. So with the economy thriving, they need a total clean slate in order to build back better, which is great reset you into poverty. So they need to make you less poor. And part of them making you less poor is printing trillions of dollars and telling you it's not going to cost any money at all. So Nancy Pelosi's upset that the media is not doing a good job. Imagine being this clueless. The media is not doing a good job selling this. First of all, the media is doing everything in their power to convince us that this isn't even happening, or it's not real, or it's not that bad, or it's common, or we're going to get through this. See, they're trying to sell a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, yes, things are a little grim right now, but we've been here before. No. We've never been here before. We absolutely haven't. Great Depression, not this bad, especially with government actively making it happen. The government is government's doing. They're saying this is the pandemic. No, this is government action. This is directly due to government action. But they're using the virus as a scapegoat to say, well, we're just in a global pandemic. So it is absolutely the government doing this. I mean, if you look at the housing market crash of 2008, if you look at some of the other downturns of the economy, they weren't as bad as this, and this is still going on. And it's actually accelerated since January, which is kind of a coincidence, I suppose. Since Biden got rigged into the Oval Office, now things are accelerating here. But $3.5 trillion worth of spending. And Pelosi's mad, probably not so much that the media is not selling it good enough, but that people are not stupid. People notice it. They hate it. They realize that you can't just raise the debt ceiling and continue to print money and think that everything's just going to be peachy. Telling people it costs $0. They think that you're an idiot. They really do. They insult your intelligence every day when they lie to you. Every time when they say, let's go, Brandon. Fiery, but mostly peaceful. Or the best one, which is probably better than fiery, but mostly peaceful, the one out of Afghanistan. They're chanting death to America, but they seem kind of friendly, actually. Yeah, that's them thinking you're dumb. Okay, now, what Nancy Pelosi fails to realize is the media is doing a pretty good job trying to sell this, at least the Washington Post. Imagine writing this headline: America needs higher, longer-lasting inflation. Imagine, taking yourself seriously or wanting to be taken seriously when you're running articles like this. So this is an absolute media spin. Inflation's good. We actually need inflation. Yeah, because what happened in Venezuela was so amazing. And other countries where they saw inflation that was not curbed at all. In fact, they're building upon that inflation. Right. So this is the Washington Post trying to spin it for you. So Nancy Pelosi, yeah, and this isn't just purely some anecdote. There's other articles out there. There's other news stories where they're basically saying it's not that bad. or maybe it's a good thing. Unbelievable. So we got diaper shortages. I just said I'm a new parent. Imagine this, diaper shortages hitting low-income families. I think it's hitting everybody. Nonprofit calling on community to donate. So you got diaper shortages. Last year you had toilet paper. You had what was the other thing that was a run on? Toilet paper and I mean hand sanitizer. I guess that kind of made sense. But toilet paper, I don't know what you're all seeing shortages of in your area, but you're seeing a lot of shelves that are being filled with items so that it doesn't appear like there's a shortage. You know, like duly located items, water on the water aisle, but also in another random aisle or on another end cap. So, I mean, that's absolutely happening. What is in stock, because, you know, economics 101, supply and demand, you're seeing a surge in the price. You're seeing price gouges. Amazon's famous for that. They price gouge every time there's a hurricane in Florida. They raise the price of basic goods for people to get through. So you're seeing diaper shortages. You're seeing labor shortages. You're seeing workers quit their jobs, because that's the other aspect of this. They're forcing workers to quit. They make it sound like a choice. It's an illusion of choice. You know, I actually went to the doctor the other day, and it was the first time that I actually asked my doctor what he thinks about the whatchamacallit, and if it should be mandatory or not. And he didn't outright say that he thinks it should be mandatory, but he did say, you know, I don't see what the big deal is. Of course, I expected him to be pro whatchamacallit, and he didn't recommend it to me, but he did actually make this admission. He said that he got it because he felt like he needed to do his part to make sure he doesn't spread it to grandparents and strangers and people that are more vulnerable. And that's a noble thing. If you feel like that's why you want to get it, fine. I get it. But what that said to me, I feel like the subtext of that statement is he didn't feel like he needed it for himself. So, you know, him saying that was very, very interesting, because obviously I don't have any plans to get it, but you know, people are being forced to get it, and they're giving they're being given an ultimatum. That's the other thing. That's kind of where I was going with it. I lost my train of thought there. He was saying that, you know, because he has friends that are being faced with this decision of their bodily autonomy, their individual sovereignty, their medical freedom, or putting food on the table. And he said he thinks it's a choice. It's still a choice. You have a choice to make. So, you know, I don't see the big deal. You have a choice to make. They're just nudging you along to make the choice. And that's why I had to completely disagree, even though I didn't say anything at the time. I was just like, okay, I'll let it go. I didn't want to get into it with my doctor over this, right? But that's not a choice. That's government coercion. That's coercion. That's them giving you an ultimatum. That's them pushing you to a cliff and saying, do you want to stay alive or do you want to jump off the cliff? You stay alive, we own you. Jump off the cliff, take your own chances at survival. That's what these mandates are. So you have worker shortages. Workers quit their jobs at record rates, with 4.3 million resigning last month as job openings remain high at 10.4 million. Now, Hunter Biden's dad says that this is a good thing. Our economy is doing great. It's never been doing better than before. He can look straight into a camera, read from the teleprompter, of course, and say everything's on the up and up. Wages are on the rise, completely ignoring the fact that those wages are completely swallowed up by the cost of gas going up, the cost of rent going up. It's harder to own a home, which in that Washington Post article, they're saying inflation is good because look at mortgages. If they can just have the interest rates higher, it gives them more room to work with to shrink it so they can fluctuate this, give them more power to manipulate the market. That's what they need. So they're selling you on this entire situation as they've launched this war on you, the middle class, the hardworking individuals. So you got this aspect of labor shortage on top of the fact that they've literally paid people to sit on their asses and not work. So again, this entire situation, the rise in cost of living completely impacts the mom and pops of the world, corporations that are too big to fail, they're going to survive this. They're going to survive this. I mean, the cargo ships that are stuck offshore are just sitting there with Chinese made goods, stuff coming across the ocean from other countries, are just sitting there. And now they're telling you, yeah, your kids are probably going to be crying come Christmas time because there's going to be shortages of everything. Sorry, it's the pandemic. We can't help it. Supply and demand, even though it's their inaction. It's their action and inaction. The constant fear mongering, the constant manipulation, the constant threats and intimidation, people walking off the job. I've seen all kind of videos of 18-wheelers, semi-trucks just lining parking lots, just filled up. They don't have anybody to drive them. And this is probably have something to do with the mandates as they continue to spin the Southwest worker shortage. They're spinning that. It has nothing to do with the vaccine mandates. That's not a thing. That's not happening. The CEO of Southwest says, yeah, we're not really for that. Well, then why aren't you listening to the Texas governor as he says, no vaccine mandates in our state? That is outlawed. So they're doing the bidding of Joe Biden and his handlers, his puppet masters, and destroying our economy completely. Attacking everything from the people that deliver your groceries, deliver your household items to stores, to your healthcare workers, attacks on law enforcement. They're trying to purge everybody from military, teachers, the people that keep our society going, pilots. Those are all people that have quit their jobs en masse because of this medical mandate that they're blaming on a virus. Something that you cannot see unless you have a microscope. They're blaming it on that when it's reality. It's government. It's government. 100% of this is government. So I actually closed down the link. I'm going to go back really quick. Bear with me here. I have a link to the inflation because I want to read some of those numbers again. On, let me pull this back up here. They're not, so where Jen Psaki said, we're not looking at cost to cost comparisons from this year to 2 years ago. Here are some of the numbers for you guys, if you didn't know this already. Prices continue to skyrocket under Biden. Gas is up 42.1% since last year. Bacon up 19.3%. Eggs up 12.6%. Chicken up 7.6%. Shoes are up 6.5%. Dresses up 9.5%. TVs up 12.7%. Computers, 8.5%. Used cars and trucks up 24.4%. That's a huge one right there because they're trying to transition us away from the combustion engine, from gas-powered engines. They've launched an attack on lawnmowers and leaf blowers and chainsaws and generators. At least California has. What's coming next? I wonder, could it be the automobile? Inflation is a hidden tax on every single American citizen. It is. It just is. So while they say we're not going to raise taxes, even though they are actually going to raise taxes, inflation is the hidden tax, and we're all feeling the heat right now. Every single person is feeling the heat. So whether you loved Trump or hated Trump, you had more money in your wallet when he was in the White House. That's just a fact. People don't like it. They get mad. They still have Trump derangement syndrome. But that is the reality. These numbers are insane and they continue to rise. And you have to remember, this is not just the doing of Biden and his handlers. He is the figurehead. He's being controlled. He's got puppet masters. He's doing the bidding of the highest bidder. This is straight coming from the UN. I told you this Build Back Better slogan is being used in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Western countries that are collapsing, that have medical mandates, that have locked their countries down, that are experiencing supply chain disruption, worker shortages, surge in crime. That's all evidence of a great reset, which They have documented, it's well documented. People think it's a conspiracy theory. You can look up everything that they talk about. You can go to the World Economic Forum website. You can read some of the statements Klaus Schwab has made. You can find his interviews online. And Psaki told you herself that Biden wants to fundamentally change our economy, and he feels coming out of the pandemic is the time to do that. Don't take my word for it. Here's her saying it.
The president wants to make fundamental change in our economy, and he feels coming out of the pandemic is exactly the time to do that. And if we don't do it now, if we don't address the cost of childcare, to go back to Josh's question earlier, if we don't address the climate crisis, if we don't ensure that universal pre-K is a reality now, we're not going to have the same opportunity to do it for some time.
So you see, they're admitting to you right there, for the normies that haven't been red pill, for the people that deny that this is happening, that think we just need to get the Trump supporters and the conspiracy theorists and the climate change deniers. We just need to get all those people to understand that Biden is going to build back better. We just need to trust government. We're going to fix everything, and we can just comply and inject ourselves back to normal. We're not going back to normal. That's not the plan. And she just told you that. They're using this virus, using this pandemic to reshape the American economy. And the far left, the extreme, the communists, the people that actually hate America and they think capitalism is the worst evil ever committed in the world, they're hoping that this Build Back Better thing actually leads to a socialist utopian society. That's what they want. They ultimately want the government to have more power. I have some really good friends that are still on the left. I've told you guys a million times. More people, the majority of the friends that I have are on the left. That's just the way that it was before I ever got into politics. I can get them to agree on certain issues. We find common ground on a lot of the problems in society. The problem is their solution involves government taking more action, more power, more of their money and my money, because they don't understand that government is the problem. 90% of the world's problems are created by man trying to play God and call himself a politician, call himself president, a congressman, a senator, taking your money and trying to organize society for you. So you got the far left people that think that's what they want. That's what they hope is happening. You've got a big chunk, which I think are the people we can reach. People who are in the middle, the people who are moderate, the people who maybe voted for Hunter Biden's dad because they either thought he would handle the pandemic and shut down the virus, or they had some other reason. But those people are pretty much otherwise sane, rational. They can probably be reached. Those people actually believe, somewhat less and less, that number's shrinking by the day, but those people believe we just have to get through it. We're safer at home. We'll get through it. Let's just continue complying. We'll get back to normal. They don't know that that's not going to happen. That's not the plan. The plan is not to go back to normal. The plan is to radically reshape this country. So those people, now that they're getting that wake-up call, now that they're seeing what's happening, now that it's affected them, they see like, wow, I got 2 jabs. I still got to cover my face. I got to get who knows how many booster shots, and I'm experiencing more economic hardship than before. My flight just got canceled. So now I got to spend more money to rent a car, which, the rental cars, there's a run on rental cars. So the cost is going up. Gas is expensive on top of that. They're going to tax you for mileage. They're piloting that. That's in that $1 trillion spending bill. So people in the middle are starting to see that. And that's why I stay on YouTube, because those people can still be reached. In my opinion, they still can be reached. So you got these people that need to see the Jen Psaki clip of her saying straight up, they're not going back to normal. They're going to change everything, make it worse. You're going to have less money. This is by design. And while she says it's Biden, this is Joe Biden, the president wants to do this. No, he doesn't even know where he's at. That's why he brags about his butt getting wiped. He eats ice cream. He doesn't know where he is. He calls a lid at 10 a.m. He goes on vacation every other weekend. He doesn't know what's going on. He reads from teleprompters. He's got strings in his back, and somebody's puppeteering this man. That's what's going on. And like I said, it's the great resetters. It's the Build Back Better slogan, the globalist slogan. It's the people destabilizing our country, funding chaos, disrupting the supply chain, consolidating power and control. That's where we are. And they've got their useful idiots, people that are helping them. People that, here's the thing, and I said this about Black Lives Matter, I'm going to say it about this headline: climate protesters swarm White House, vandalize Jackson statue, and warn Biden. They're basically warning him, you better build back better, meaning you better destroy capitalism, give us our utopian society, go after our opposition, create this new world order rather, or we're coming after you. They don't realize that they'll get trampled, but they're doing the bidding. If you're an extreme climate change activist, you're BLM protester, if corporations back you, if the media is televising your revolution, if people are sponsoring your movement, you are not the resistance. In fact, you're doing the footwork. You're the foot soldiers of the establishment. That's why they support you. That's why you don't get censored off social media. That's why the media isn't covering this story. Did you guys even know about this? Climate protesters swarmed the White House. Last time I checked, if a bunch of people who stand for a cause swarm a federal building, that's called an insurrection. At the very least, damaging property, federal property, that sounds like domestic terrorism to me. But no, the media won't cover that. Now, will they? Funny how that works. So nobody even knew about this happening. Climate change activists, people that bought into the propaganda and fear-mongering, probably some people that were funded, decided we're going to go and swarm the White House because we need this climate change. We need the Green New Deal. We need government to have more power, more decision-making over everyone's life, because that's how we change the temperature of the planet. And see, when I talk about this stuff, people who are on the left think, what are you, against climate change? No, I'm or against more sustainable energy. No, I actually very much agree with transforming, finding better ways to do things. I think we should take better care of the environment. I don't like seeing oil spills. I don't like seeing trash and landfills. I don't like breathing in polluted air. Like when I went to LA and I got a headache within 12 minutes of standing outside of the airport because the smog and fumes are so bad. I don't like it. I don't like seeing masks all over the streets everywhere I go. Every time I leave my house and go to a public place, I see a mask on the ground. I don't like all the pollution. I don't like the littering. I don't like it. I agree. We should probably have better ways of doing things. I would love to have solar panels on my house. I would love to have an electric car. I would love to have different ways. But the thing is, I'm not anti-fossil fuel. I'm not against whatever's cheapest. So I just wanted to just say that right there, because I know some people get really like, well, you're just against trying to make a better world. They always give you that false dichotomy. They make the straw man argument. If you do not support the climate change push and the Green New Deal, it's because you're a science denier, which we could obviously go that route. I can pull up all kind of articles and different campaigns to fearmonger over the decades saying the world's going to end unless we do something now about climate change. Florida's going to be underwater. The UK is going to be underwater. New York City is going to be underwater. None of this stuff's happening. They should play Al Gore's his documentary now, just so everybody can see all of the fear-mongering and doomsday prophecies that didn't come true. So these climate change activists never explain how giving more money and power to government is going to solve anything. If you actually care about solving the problem, you need to get government out of the way and allow for innovation, ingenuity, entrepreneurship. That's what makes the American economy grow. That's what you get, all these creative entrepreneurs, smart people. You get the government out of their way and you're going to have innovation. If that's not true, I'm open to discussing. If anybody can tell me what the government has invented. What is one thing the government does well that you love? Do you like going to the DMV? Didn't think so. What has the government invented? Have they invented anything like, I don't know, any revolutionary inventions like maybe the air conditioning, the car, the refrigerator, anything? No, they didn't. Came from individuals tapping into their full potential. So climate change activists, they can never explain, number one, how we're changing the climate, why all those predictions were wrong over the years, why we went from global warming to climate change, because they figured out, well, it's not really global warming. Now it's just climate change. Now it's an emergency, just like everything else. You disagree with this, it's because you deny the science. If you don't want to get the vaccine, it's because you're anti-vaxxer. I'm just tired of it. Tired of it. Tired of the lies, tired of the propaganda, tired of the fear, constant fear. We're all dead if you don't do this. We're not gonna make it unless you let them have more power over your life. Not explaining how it's gonna happen. And why they're not protesting against China and India, the two biggest polluters on the planet. The dirtiest rivers on earth run through China, India, and I believe Nigeria, someplace in Africa, but those are the dirtiest rivers. We actually have way better water and air. We do more to help the planet than hurt it. I mean, I could really go on and on about that, but that would take up the rest of the stream. I just really had to hammer this home. You got these climate protesters doing the bidding of the establishment, the people that are trying to take down the country. And so I just think it's really funny. The media just completely ignored it. You didn't hear anything about it. They swarmed the White House. No fences went up. No National Guard being called in. None of that. But man, you better not gather against medical tyranny because you're a domestic terrorist, white supremacist, science-denying, QAnon conspiracy theorist. That's what you are. So they're setting all these new precedents, right? Like this one right here. I think this proposal has been seriously mischaracterized, says Janet Yellen as she defends the plan for the IRS to snoop on accounts with more than $600. She claims it will help make billionaires pay more tax. So it is an attack on you. If you have $600 or more, the IRS is coming after you. They're going to spy on you. We don't get to see how Nancy Pelosi accumulated all that wealth. We don't get to see how the Biden family accumulated all that wealth, even though it's well documented. Maxine Waters, some of these career politicians that are worth millions. But no, let's spy on the middle class as their bank accounts may very well soon have less than $600 in it because the cost of groceries are going up, the cost of diapers, the cost of chicken. I just went over the list of all of the items that are either out of stock or cost more money when they're in stock for that very reason because there's a run on it. Everything costs more. Repairs for your home cost more. But if you happen to be kind of sort of getting ahead in spite of the federal government having this much power, then we're going to take you down. We can't have you trying to get ahead when we're trying to bring about this global communist utopian society that the far left thinks is going to happen. So if you're fighting against this successfully, if you're fighting against every effort we're making to make you poor, we're going to have a new way to crush you. And we're going to spy on your transactions and snuff out you moneymakers out there. Like they're going to really go after the billionaires. Are you kidding me? All those offshore bank accounts. You don't think billionaires know a way, have millions of ways to exploit tax loopholes that were created by Congress, by the way? They make it seem like we're going after billionaires. Oh, really? Billionaires that have more than $600 in their bank account makes 0 cents. So new precedent. This is what happens when somebody is in control of the executive branch, because that's the thing. If you look at what's happening in our country, the reason why it's accelerated, because this really started before this year, the reason why it's accelerating is because the executive branch, the people that execute laws and decrees and executive orders, they're on the march. So when it's essentially they have the gun, the people that want to destroy your life have a gun, and that is the executive branch. That's why they can weaponize law enforcement, the FBI, the DOJ to target you if you happen to stand up for your freedom, your God-given freedom that pre-existed government. If you happen to stand up, if you happen to be working your way back from this economic attack on you, they'll weaponize the IRS. So their laws only have any teeth because they control the executive branch. If it was just the legislative branch and nobody enforced it, who cares? It's just the opinion of somebody or an opinion of a bunch of people who voted for something. But if it's not backed by the threat of force, nothing really comes of it. So this is an exact thing that's happening now, this unprecedented spy on American taxpayers, people with bank accounts. Now, luckily, some banks, I believe, are pushing back on this, but we'll see. I have a feeling, they already can access everything about you, but it's not enough. They want more control over you. So the IRS is going to be cracking the whip really hard. Just you wait. When it comes time to file your taxes next year, that's going to be fun. Moving on to some medical tyranny and some, well, this one isn't medical tyranny so much as it's in line with Merrick Garland weaponizing, the DOJ to go after American citizens. And some of you may have seen this story already. Tucker Carlson covered it last night. Father whose daughter was raped in girls' bathroom by skirt-wearing male student slams Merrick Garland for threatening parents who protest school boards after he was dragged out of Loudoun County for trying to say staff ignored incident. How do we know that this is true? How do we know that the staff ignored this incident? How do we know that this male, this dude wearing a skirt was ignored? Because he reoffended. He went to another school and raped another girl in the bathroom because he wore a skirt, and it's okay to go into a woman's restroom, apparently, as long as you pretend to be a woman. Who didn't see this one coming? But, A.G. Garland going after parents who are standing up for their kids. That tells me they're saying we have the right to indoctrinate and force our rules, our psychotic rules, and are relaxing the law for people we like. We have a right to do that. And if it hurts your kid, you better not say anything about it or we'll come after you. Deal with it. See what I just said? When they control the executive branch, they can execute. They can execute their sick, wicked ideology. They got guns at their disposal. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly why. And it's not just the federal level, it's the state level. That's why school shooters get to go free. School shooter goes free. I'm willing to bet if the FBI came after you for going to a school board meeting and you get dragged out, you will spend more time in jail than that Texas school shooter. People who trespassed on January 6th are still in jail. But if you shoot up a school, they're not going to go after you. You won't even get charged with attempted murder when you shot someone with a gun. That's not attempted murder in the eyes of the DA in that area where that school shooting happened, Arlington, Texas. So you see, it all just depends on who controls the executive branch. Are they an authoritarian? Are they a psychopath? And they're letting criminals go. They let them walk free. This is chaos. This is chaos. This is destabilization. It's just happening more and more. It's happening at an accelerated rate. Mass shooters getting released. Criminals not being prosecuted. Crimes being decriminalized like shoplifting, drug usage on the street. Lots of crime that would otherwise be prosecuted to keep the community safer and cleaner and healthier overall. Now, the executive branch, not just at the federal level, at the state and local level, is taking a hands-off approach with people they like and a very aggressive hands-on approach with you for noticing what they're doing. Here's a sad one. The $100 million border wall graveyard. Shocking footage shows miles of unused steel lying in desert near the Rio Grande after Biden canceled all contracts to build it. So you've got all of this border wall just sitting here unused because, we got open borders now and you can just cross on over those borders. No medical papers, no masks, just come on over. But just don't come over on an airplane with a passport because then you must comply. But that's besides the point. Look at the border wall just sitting there. All that money wasted. All those people who would have jobs otherwise, contracts canceled. Sorry. Just like when he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Sorry, you're unemployed. Unbelievable. But hey, they're going to save your life, guys. Just let them build back better when they won't even build border wall. They won't even protect the sovereignty of our country. And of course, we know why. I've covered it several times. I'm not going to sit and pretend like, well, they just need to be better. This is by design. They're doing this on purpose. Some people will sit here and pretend like this is an atrocity. Why can't they do this? When I say that, I'm joking. I know that they have no plan to do this. They plan to keep it this way. Beto O'Rourke, who is running for governor of Texas, the second largest state in the country with a massive open border, said he would tear down the existing border. I wonder why. Is it because he's a part of this agenda to bring down the country, dissolve the border, challenge sovereignty? So this is just another sad reality of the people that are pulling the levers. Nothing says attack on America like just leaving border wall unconstructed after it's already been paid for. Just let it rot in the desert. That's what's happening. Now, this is what I meant to, that's what I thought I was clicking on a few minutes ago when I said more medical tyranny and medical discrimination. Ohio man's kidney transplant canceled days away from scheduled surgery because donor wasn't vaccinated. So life-changing surgeries are being canceled because you didn't get that medical procedure that they wanted you to get. And this is one of many stories emerging of people that are not getting life-saving surgeries, organ transplants, because they haven't gotten a medical procedure. Whether it's the recipient or the person who's giving up their organ, they're not doing it. They're deciding not to do it. Imagine denying someone health or life-saving medical treatment because they didn't get a medical procedure. See, this is a conundrum for the people who think healthcare is a human right, Medicare for all. Well, what about Medicare for the people who don't get this medical procedure that you want them to get? Oh, well, that's different. They should be denied. They should be denied this access. These people are useless. Now, here is a crazy story. I have not seen this reported on by any local news. Usually local news is better than national news. I haven't seen it. But a Texas hospital is putting bags over COVID patient's head. And there's actually a photo of it. I don't know if it's in this article or not. I can probably pull it up. Let me see if I can pull up the photograph of it. There's a photo of a girl who, you can kind of see it here. I should have had the picture pulled up. She's wearing a bag over her head as she goes through the hospital, and she had already tested positive for the virus. Now, the mother actually gave a testimony here. Let me play that testimony for you here, because local news hasn't reported it, but there's images of it. So unless they staged it, which I suppose they could have, I don't see why they would need to, because we've seen everything else in clown world. This parent apparently is giving her testimony as to why her daughter had to wear a plastic bag over her face. Talk about just dehumanizing a person.
Natalie, let's just draw back. Tell the audience what happened that day. Your daughter gets sick. You take her to the hospital. She goes to the hospital for treatment. Just break down just how the day went. You go to the hospital, you're talking to doctors, and then you see your daughter with the bag over her head. Just try to relive that. I know it's traumatizing. I know it's emotional. We'll be patient here, but just try to explain to the audience what it was like that day.
It was very hard. Her oxygen was already low. Her oxygen was in 85, 86 when we got there. They tested her for COVID. We already knew she was positive, and they still tested her again. And then they said that she needed to be on oxygen, so they put her on oxygen. And then they said they were going to keep her just to make sure she was okay, because she was low on oxygen. And then they came to transport us, and then she brought a bag, and I'm like, okay, what's that for? She says, we have to put it over her head. And I said, for what? She says, anytime we transport them through the halls where there's other patients, we have to put it over their head. I'm like, okay. So she had the mask on already and the bag. She kept saying she couldn't breathe, so she took off the mask. And they told her she had to put the mask back on. So she put the mask back on, and then they took us to the room, but the way to the room, she had to wear the bag. When she got in the room, she could take off the bag, but she had to keep it. So if she had to do any x-rays, CAT scans, she had to put the bag back on.
Sick. These people are sick and wicked. Now, like I said, this is not being covered by local news, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. Usually local news, I reference local news because I kind of have this weird thing where I'm like going back and forth. Like, yes, news is fake. We know that. And even local news is fake. But a lot of the stories that I cover, a lot of stuff that gets surfaced is reported on by local news. Local news will typically report on stories similar to this without a problem. It's the national news, the legacy fake news that we see that's crammed down our throat, that they're the ones that would cover this up or hide it, pretend like it doesn't exist. Now, this, and I don't know, I don't live in Texas. This is where it happened in Texas. This girl, and you can see the photo here. I don't know how well you can see it. Wearing a plastic bag over her head. It could be staged, but I don't think so. They wouldn't need to because we've seen all the other crazy stuff. So again, is this a serious pandemic or not? This is ridiculous. Dehumanizing, just treating people like trash. And for what? So bad. Kamala Harris might have to stop the steal. Interesting. This article from The Atlantic, they're basically saying that should Trump and his acolytes try to subvert the 2024 election, the last Democrat with any power to stop the steal, or at least try to, would be Harris. Are they telegraphing that she's going to be taking over for Biden soon? And why even write this article, Stop the Steal? I thought that Orange Man was just monstrously unpopular, and that's why he lost. That's what I thought. But now they're worried that Kamala will have to stop the steal. Interesting slogan you chose there. So they're suggesting a couple things. Number one, Biden is on his way out. Number two, they're panicked. They're nervous that there was no turn back to the controlled opposition of the Republican Party from yesteryear. The grand old party, the Liz Cheneys of the world. They thought that if they could just get Trump out of the way, that people like Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, puppets, fake Republicans, rhinos, they thought that that would be the return to normal. But no, the Trump movement, the populist movement, which led to Trump, that is still very strong. In fact, is growing. It's growing. You see it at every one of these rallies. And this is just the beginning. So they're afraid. They're afraid. The other thing is, why would they be afraid if elections are rigged? I don't know. This is an interesting one. Are they afraid? This is just one article. But nonetheless, Kamala may have to stop the steal. Are they afraid that Trump is going to come back? Are they afraid that they know that they got caught? Are they afraid? Is there something else? I'm just throwing a little bit of mud at the wall here, guys. Just speculating. Are they afraid that Trump is going to come back and it will be unstoppable like never before? Because now the gigantic chunk of normies in the middle can see how horrible things are under this puppet that we have in the White House. Hunter Biden's dad, the puppet, the figurehead of the Great Reset for this country, the guy that they want, the guy that was rigged in over Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang and anybody else on the left that ran for president that had an actual organic grassroots base of supporters. They chose the most decrepit, corrupt career politician on that debate stage. People can see that now. And so they might just cast their vote for a certain orange man that may decide to run again. And so therefore, it would be a stolen election if that happened, and Kamala Harris might have to swoop on in to stop the steal. So this is an interesting article from The Atlantic. They're worried that Trump and his cronies are going to come back to subvert the 2024 election. In my opinion, we got to clean things up before we even get that far. But very good sign there that you see at least one news article reporting it now. Just be ready, just like they said on before the election in 2020. Now get ready, guys. On election night, you're going to notice what's called a red mirage. It's going to look like Trump is winning on election night, but in the following days, don't be surprised if Biden pulls ahead. So they told you. They told you what their plan was, you guys. So now, stop the steal, Kamala Harris version. Let's see how that plays out. Stay tuned. Annapolis-based Navy nuclear engineer and his wife charged with trying to pass secrets to a foreign government. So you got the Navy. Something's going on with the Navy. Something's weird. Trying to pass secrets, huh? Now the FBI went undercover and caught these treasonous individuals for trying to pass nuclear secrets to a foreign government. I wonder, I don't know. There's probably a lot more to this story, but methinks that they're trying to just completely sell out the United States, and the FBI is like, hey, that's not your job. Let the professionals deal with this. We'll subvert America. We got this. So this couple is being charged, and I think that they're facing life in prison. But what can someone remind me what the punishment for treason is again? I tend to forget. I don't know. But it's very interesting. You got just everyday people out there trying to do the bidding, whether it's climate change, activists, LARPers, or the BLM people that go out and destroy their own communities because that somehow saves Black people. You got all that stuff. Last topic I want to cover here is Texas. For all the people watching from Texas, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I think you can do better than Governor Greg Abbott. I just do. And I think Trump slowly is starting to figure that out. They have a relationship, which is why he endorsed Greg Abbott way too soon, in my opinion. But Trump called for an audit in Texas, and we're not sure why that hasn't materialized. Trump is he's starting to actually call Greg Abbott out a little bit. That's just one of the examples of why Greg Abbott just doesn't seem like a very strong America First governor. He does not. And people in Texas are noticing it. He comes across as a career politician that says what he thinks people want to hear, and he wants to pat himself on the back. For example, when he lifted the mask mandate in March of 2021, it's like, look, you can be free. I just freed your face. It's like, you're like 9-10 months late on that. And in reality, you shouldn't have done it at all. But I don't put him in the same category as Kristi Noem and Ron DeSantis as far as being liberty focused, being a fierce defender of their constituents and fending off federal mandates. I just don't put him in that category. Bill Lee is another good governor. I feel like maybe Kim Reynolds in Iowa, that's another good governor. But Greg Abbott, I feel like he's vulnerable. And how do you know that? Because number one, what's going on with the border? What's going on with the attack on alternative social media when free speech is under assault? his mandates or his law, because I know people are probably saying in this comment, what are you talking about, Mike? Greg Abbott just banned vaccine mandates of any kind in his state. Yeah, but that's only because other states are doing it. Why now? And oh, by the way, you got corporations that are based out of Texas that are doing it anyway. Southwest Airlines and American Airlines, as this headline says, rebuffing Texas governor, American Airlines, Southwest stand by vaccine mandates. So what are you going to do now, Greg Abbott? What is your plan now that these companies in your state are going around you anyway? They don't care about your mandate. I guess this is the point where you see what Greg Abbott is made of. What do you do when a corporation defies your order? And they're creating more unemployed people in your state as they're going to fire people. They're going to disrupt your state's economy in one way or another. You know, that's kind of happening a little bit here in Florida. Governor DeSantis is fining a county for firing employees who didn't get jabbed. So there's that. But I just feel like Greg Abbott not doing a good job. Texas, you can do better. And it's so important, which is why I continue to bring it up, because Texas is the largest state that can truly transform this country for the worse or for the better. Number one, they could build a wall for sure. They could build a wall. They could be way tougher on the border. And they could have a governor that actually is more tough on his rhetoric. So here's who I'm thinking could be a very viable replacement for Greg Abbott. And it's not too soon or too late, rather, for Trump to withdraw that endorsement and maybe throw it behind Allen West, a lieutenant from the, he served in the Army, I believe. And this article, Greg Abbott's executive order, came hours after Allen West said, I will vehemently crush anyone forcing vaccine mandates. So in my opinion, I think Allen West is a much better candidate to lead Texas, because if you just look at his tweets, even his tweets are very much in favor of the Constitution. He was a Tea Party member back in the day when he was in Congress, when he was living in Florida at the time. And so this article, and I can post it if people want to read it, but you can find it. This is all just highlighting how Governor Greg Abbott is only taking steps after Allen West is tweeting about it and giving interviews on Tucker and going on, making the media rounds, saying what he would do as governor. So he's actually just campaigning and saying what Texas can do better and where the state is going wrong. And I assume he's trying to tread lightly, because right now Greg Abbott has all the money. He's got everything. So at the end of the day, Greg Abbott is better than any Democrat. But Allen West is kind of going on the attack and highlighting where Greg Abbott is falling short and how he seems more like somebody's just providing lip service, not ever getting anything done. And what are you going to do when you got Biden saying he's going to go around these state governors? He doesn't care that they're blocking his federal mandates. He says he's going to go around. He already said, I'm going to get them out of the way, whatever that means. But he's saying that the federal government can overpower states. At least that's what his little mouthpiece, Jen Psaki, is saying to the press, that he can go around them. He has everything in his power to go around states' rights. Even though the Federalist Papers, if you read those, I think paper number 9 says states have rights and they can form, there's different things states can do. When the federal government, specifically the executive branch of the federal government, gets aggressive and goes on the march. So what will Texas do now that at least 2 companies are defying the executive order? What's going to happen when Biden tries to override Texas law, Texas executive orders? What's going to happen at that point? I guess we got to wait and see. But I think Allen West is probably a better pick for governor of Texas. And I think I just covered everything, actually, you guys. I have covered everything from the war on healthcare workers to the war on cops, teachers, military, pilots, the war on gasoline and the engines you have at your house, whether it's a lawnmower or a generator. They don't want you to have that anymore. The global supply chain disruption, the economic attack, forcing people to stay home, or forcing people out of their jobs, firing them, then bragging about it, saying everything's on the up and up, threatening to replace them with foreign workers, paying people to stay home from work, the attack on transportation, the attack on your bank account. They're going to pry in if you got $600 or more. Of course, there's the ongoing war on your body. If you don't have sovereignty over your body and they can inject you with something, you're not a free person. You're property. And when you're property, they don't have to be, they can contradict themselves all day. They can be hypocrites because they own you. So they don't have to explain themselves. They don't have to make sense. But there's a war on your body. There's a war on humanity. War on parents. If you try to defend your children, there's a war on children, of course. If they're allowed to be born, they're propagandized from birth. There's just an overall war on this country, war on the sovereignty of this country, war on the sovereignty of the individuals of this country. And they're making you more poor by the day. Inflation through the roof, skyrocketing. All right, that's everything. So I'm going to read a few of these comments and then wrap this stream up. And I will try to be back tomorrow during the day. Friday I had reserved for evenings, and things have been a little bit chaotic lately. So I haven't even, well, last week on Friday I was traveling, so it wasn't even possible. But I think the Friday before I did do an evening live stream. Tomorrow I've got plans tomorrow night. So I'm going to try to do a live stream tomorrow during the day, roughly around this time. Just depends on how young Roman's doing. DM said, got any good news stories for Mike? Mike's email is mikenificent813@gmail.com. Yeah, that's the thing, man. I don't like being the bearer of bad news, but that's kind of what we really have right now. I want to be able to cover positive news because there are positive news stories out there, even if it's something small, like firefighter saves family from burning building. That's a positive news story. Or, something that feels good. Service member comes home, surprises family, that kind of thing. But we're headed for a dark winter, and Hunter Biden's dad is puppeting. He's the puppet that is pulling the strings to make that happen. Well, his strings are being pulled, but you get what I'm saying. He's making that happen. Yeah, show me some good stories. I will be more than willing to share those stories. Matter of fact, I would love to share a story before I leave. If there's any good stories, just tell me what it is. I can type it into Google and see what pops up. Because I think if you try to share the link, I think the chat will block it or something like that. That's what I've been told, at least. Yes, I should end my show with something like that. I should start it that way too, just because a lot of it is doom and gloom. But that's me just reporting on what's happening. That's just what's happening. And right now, it appears there are more bad stories than there are good. But I get no excitement out of this. I actually find that I have to decompress. I have to go stand in front of the ocean and transmute all the negativity. I have to diffuse it all. So I'll go stand at the ocean. I go walk around nature when it's cool enough so that I can decompress from all of it, all the negativity and drama. It's not good for the immune system. Oops, that's probably medical misinformation, guys. It's just, what can you do? Get yourself some therapy, some self-care, go to the beach, go walk in nature, go walk at a lake, go for a bike ride. I try to bike ride every day before I live stream. Abbott got paid off just like Cuomo. He should be taken to Gitmo. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. If you have an article on it, if you have any proof of that, I would gladly talk about it. Something's there. There's got to be some reason why he's not fiercely defending the Constitution of even his own state. He's just saying things like, we're going to do this. It's like if him and DeSantis were sitting next to each other in a class, he would be looking at DeSantis's notes. Oh, I should write that down. That's a good point. It's just not very good. Mike, have you seen Nancy Pelosi and the Pope shaking hands, or should I say the special handshake? No, I have not. I've not seen that. But I know that Hunter Biden's dad's going to be meeting with the Pope, and I guess there's going to be like a live audience. There's going to be an audience when they have their little meeting. And there was a video that you can see people in Italy. I don't know if they're in Vatican City or Rome or somewhere else, but they're chanting "Let's Go Brandon." The original version of "Let's Go Brandon" is what they're chanting. So I hope that there is a live audience, and I hope somebody records it so you can see him get a warm welcome when he goes over to Italy. Trump brought everyone together, not Biden. Yeah, see, people want to see, or people want to try to retroactively blame Trump for where we are. Anomaly does that a lot. I'm not really a fan of it. I mean, it's one thing if you bring it up once, but if you just go on a constant tirade like Trump, 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 yeah, we know the Republicans, they have not done their job, to put it mildly. Yeah, Trump made some mistakes. For sure he did. But in no way, shape, or form was he in favor of cramming down these mandates. Should he be tougher on it? Should he be saying that more at his rallies? Absolutely. Talk more about it. But I can only speak for myself. When he started talking about Operation Warp Speed, I was like, I don't know about that. Russian vaccine, I don't know about that. But at the time, this is early in 2020. I'm like, well, he just better get reelected, because if not, there's going to be mandates. It's going to be another weapon pointed at us. And now here we are. But if he were still in office right now, there would be no mandates. There wouldn't be, because everyone would be like, I don't trust that shot. It came from Trump, because Trump derangement syndrome would block any vaccine mandates. That's exactly why they had to get him out of the way, because it's not part of their global enslavement scheme. He was a thorn in their side. He was a roadblock, directly standing in their way. And that's why he gave all those speeches at the UN saying, nope, every country should be strong on their borders, strong on their customs, cultures, traditions. They had to get somebody talking like that out of the way. There's a reason why every single corporate establishment, from the media to Hollywood to the liberal elites, anyone with a talk show, everyone was anti-Trump on the same level. So I don't like when people just try to say, oh, it's Trump that. It's like, he's going to run in 2024. So are you saying that you're just not going to vote? Because he's going to be the nominee. So when people say that, they're basically announcing they're not going to be voting in 2024. Or maybe they'll jump back on the bandwagon and say, you know what, he's the best president we've ever seen. And the other thing is, when have you ever seen a politician or someone who enters the political realm actually take feedback from their supporters directly, like Trump did? All the other presidents didn't bring everyday working class American citizens to their office to discuss issues facing them and actually take action to improve upon that. Actually take feedback from the people they were elected to represent. Trump is the first president, at least in my lifetime, to sit down with everyday people and talk to them about what's bothering them and what they want to see change in their country. So until, all the people who are now suddenly anti-Trump, until they can tell me what's the plan, who's next, who should replace Trump, who should run against Biden or Kamala or whoever in 2020, until they can tell me who that person is, I don't want to hear anything about Trump, because he's the best thing we got. And he's not perfect. I don't think anybody who supports Trump will say, yeah, he's absolutely perfect. He did everything right. Some people, I suppose, just kind of gloss over the things that he didn't do right. It's just not important to point it out. Could he be better? Yeah, but so could every single other person. The question is, would he be better given another term in office? I think he would. 10 times better. Think about how much he learned in the short period of time that he was in politics. A total of 4 years with everything against him. His own party, the media, witch hunts, attacks on his family, all kind of shady actors around him, people he appointed that stabbed him in the back. He still got a lot done. Imagine what he could do a second time around with a party who actually supports him. Imagine what he could do. And then imagine being a Trump hater, but not knowing who could do better, not naming one person. Only they could say like, well, Ron DeSantis, because he is strong on this and this and this. You don't know how he would do once he's in there. He definitely doesn't have the experience and leadership, at least in the private sector, that Trump has. So there's nobody more experienced for the job that actually comes from outside of politics. You can't name a person. We actually have a record to go on with Trump, a record. So imagine if he could do everything he did plus more and tweak some of the things he got wrong. So I say all that to the people who love to continuously bring up Trump pushed Operation Warp Speed and promoted Fauci. Yeah, 2 big mistakes. But he also had no plans of making that vaccine mandatory and forcing people to take it. I'm not against the vaccine. I know people who have gotten it. So good for them. My problem is mandates. Mandates. It should be optional, period. I don't care about talking about what's in it or if there are side effects. I'll talk about that all day if you get to the point where you're saying, I need to take it in order to go to a grocery store and all that. At the very least, level the freaking playing field and allow people to sue Big Pharma. It's the people that are telling you, you need to get it. I got mine. Look at my Facebook profile picture. It shows I got the vaccine. They have nothing to say when you're like, well, you think I should get it, but are you going to pay my medical bills if I get damaged? The answer is a resounding no. They're not. They go radio silent as soon as you say, yeah, but Big Pharma is exempt from liability. Even though side effects may be rare, if it happens to me, nobody's got my back, including the government who protects Big Pharma with these liabilities, exemptions. So all those pro-vaxxers, the people that are wear it like a badge of honor, look at my humanity, look how awesome and moral I am. Those people and the people that are just staunch branch COVIDians, they just love it. They just worship pharma. They give you a pharma sales pitch every time you talk to them. Those people, where are they at when you say, yeah, but they haven't even made it possible for me to go after Big Pharma. There's no incentive for me. You just don't see that. So where are we at on timing? Hour and 12 minutes. Wow, time really flew by today. Trump also appointed Milley and he got screwed. Yeah, he did. He appointed Milley. He got screwed. That's bad. But for what it's worth, Milley didn't start acting up until now. Or maybe he was doing it all along. See, a lot of this went on in secret. How many people can really honestly believe Trump knew about all of this and did nothing? That would contradict, that runs contrary to everything else he did do. So it's like he did all these great things, but he wanted to screw us over at the same time. Doesn't make sense. A lot of bad actors, a lot of turncoats. Did he know that Brian Kemp was going to be a turncoat? He admits it all the time. He admits it was a mistake to endorse him. Maybe, just maybe next he'll admit it was a mistake to endorse Greg Abbott. He endorsed Ron DeSantis. That was a great thing. Hey, you win some, you lose some, but you got to learn from it. I think he learned from it. So yeah, Mark Milley, Fauci, whoever else. I can't even think of some of the names. AG Barr, that was a big disappointment. Dude never even found out who killed Epstein. Weak. He tried to make the military great again. He did. The military was strong. We had peace around the world because peace through strength. Just his rhetoric alone, man. Sean says if Trump hadn't fast-tracked the vax, we would still be under continuous lockdowns, and Trump never forced mandates. He never did. The one time, or the one or two times, but certainly the time in Alabama where he tried to praise it, he got booed. And I say that every time. It was a good thing that he got booed because he heard from the people who support him that they don't support that talking point. And he hasn't brought it up since. That's him learning. That's him listening to you. That's him not being bought off by big pharma, bought off by special interest groups. Listening to the people. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Who knows what would even happen if he got a second term? It's all, I can only just go off of his record and say, yeah, I think it's solid for him to get a second term. Yes. But you never know what's going to happen. You just never know. You never know. You can't. Who do you really trust? Who do you put all of your trust in? For me, my Lord, that's it. Outside of that, family, close friends. But even then, you know. Gregory says he hasn't brought it up since, and that means he learned, or he knows not to go forward with that, go toward that plan again. I honestly don't know. I'm not inside the man's head, but I know, like I said, I'll say it again, he listens to feedback. Name another politician, former president, that would listen to you. Do you feel like if you went and told Trump what bothers you, he would dismiss it or listen to you? Now compare that with every other president you've ever seen. And if you think Trump is just like the rest of them, tell me who would be better. Leave the comment right now and say who should be in office, who should be elected to be 47. And I'll be all for it. If you can just tell me like, yes, we don't trust Trump. Who do you trust? Who's next? Enough of that. China banned Bitcoin mining. I don't really get into Bitcoin. I'm just not into it. I'm sorry. It could be the currency of the future. Here's my problem with Bitcoin, and I don't know hardly anything about it. I know that it's connected to your phone and the internet. And if you don't have access to either, because you don't control those, then you don't control. Call me old school. Precious metals. Something that can't be hacked or digitally altered or disappear one day. Something that's invisible. That's why I'm not really into the Bitcoin thing. If anything, give me gold, silver, something that's worth its weight, something that's tangible, physical, something I can hold. Everything else is just too volatile, too unpredictable for me. At least right now. I might change, but that's why I'm saying I don't really care. You'll never hear me talk about cryptocurrency on this channel. Plus, I don't like giving financial advice, and that's probably what it would lead to, is me giving you my opinion on it. I'm just saying, for me, I'm not on board with it. DM says we need to worry about the midterms, taking the House and Senate, and local elections first in 2022. I agree. I could not agree more. That is the big agenda item for me, is focusing on what we can actually control, which is who's running the elections in your county, who is the mayor of your city, who are the state reps, your state House and Senate, who's there, what is your state Supreme Court looking like, who's your governor, who's your congressman in DC, who's your senator in DC. Are they a rhino? Are they America First? Do they support red flag laws? Is there somebody better that could primary them? Is there somebody I should interview or somebody I should mention on air next time I'm at a rally or something? I don't know. Is there something else that can be done? Yes, 2022, you can gain a lot of momentum. Getting more representatives in DC, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Lauren Boebert, like Thomas Massey, unless Mitch McConnell's, Mitt Romney's, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, some of these other rhinos, there's a lot that can be done. You need to set the stage for 2024, on top of course, cleaning up elections. Lala says, my governor sucks. What happened in Georgia? Audit. Don't know anything about it. But it sounds like the Attorney General of Georgia is a dud. Obviously, the governor's a lame duck. Precinct officer. How can voting system be trusted if the presidential election can be manipulated? The short answer is it can't be. You have to restore some trust. And I think that's what the audits should be for. That's why I'm in favor of auditing West Virginia, audit Oklahoma, audit Missouri. I don't care. Audit the reddest states and the bluest states and see what you find. But in reality, it should be a one person, one vote, paper ballot only, absentee ballot only by request, only show an ID. You have to be a United States citizen to vote. I mean, it's so easy. It'd be so easy to clean up elections. Get rid of voting machines. Allow both people from both parties to watch. Hell, cameras at voting places that everybody can see for themselves online. So you can snuff out any funny business. Hand counted. I don't care how long it takes. Hand counted. 1 day voting, 1 day only. Election day. Hell, make it a holiday. Close down stuff that shouldn't be open. Make it just like Christmas Day, where basically everything but gas stations and maybe a handful of grocery stores, airports are open. Close it down so everybody has a chance to vote, no excuses, and get to counting by hand. And keep a record of every single ballot. We have to clean it up, but you start at the local level because those are the people that count the votes. It's not who votes, it's who counts the votes. I think that's it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But everybody watching right now, please give it a thumbs up and share it on your social media. Get in front of some eyeballs. I'm surprised we got a bigger audience today. I think a lot of that had to do with both Paint the Trump and Let's Be Frank sharing the stream on their community tabs, because I'm shadow banned hardcore. One of the smaller channels on YouTube, and I'm shadow banned harder than people with much bigger reach than me. My sub count will go up by a couple thousand. The views don't go up with it. My second channel with 2,000, maybe I got 3,000 subs right now. I can get half of those views if I live stream over there. And I got like not even 10% of the subscribers over there, and I can get half the views. Just saying. So please give this stream a thumbs up. Sub if you're new. Make sure that you are subscribed. Maybe check to make sure you're subscribed. Click that notification, all notifications, so you don't miss anything. I think I'll be back tomorrow, middle of the day. If I can, it just depends on what's going on, but I probably should be able to do it. So just stay tuned for that. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on the next stream.